Welcome to CRT's Laptop and PC History. Now here we have my first ever laptop, and you can actually see me here, with my PowerBook 1400 CS. Now, mine didn't have this beautiful back panel, because I had none. It was missing, and it was also missing some other panels as far as I remember. Now back then, it was still a fun PC to play around with because, it was my first laptop to ever be like the one that could actually turn on. Now the way that it died was probably because I dropped it in a bag, and that probably killed its hard drive. But I just kept it around for a long time till I threw it away eventually, which I still regret to this day. After that we have this old Toshiba Satellite Pro 430 CDT. I remember that you could just plug it into a wall, which was pretty cool for me because then I didn't have to worry about a power plug. I picked this lovely machine up at a thrift store for 20 bucks back then, and it was also a pretty cool machine because it had a few games installed, which was cool, and music was on it as well. And again, as a child I didn't know that hard drives die if you drop them, so yeah. It died as well because I dropped it in another bag. The next laptop that we have here is this HP Omnibook. This thing was like the first machine I ever had that I could go on the internet with. And for a few months the battery actually was also working pretty well. Now it didn't have Wi-Fi, but it had USB ports, so I got myself a Wi-Fi adapter so I didn't have to run a cable to my room from the router. I remember playing Club Penguin on this thing. For me it was like my first ever internet experience, which was pretty mind-blowing back then. This thing didn't actually die during the lifespan that I used it. Because, I treated it well this time, but it did die eventually when I tried to upgrade its storage and I killed the hard drive adapter that connected the hard drive to the motherboard. Next we have this Sony Vaio here. This thing got a pretty long usage, because even though its trackpad was horrible and loud as shit, it didn't need a Wi-Fi adapter to be connected to the internet, which was pretty cool, which the old HP Omnibook needed an adapter for. But I remember its CD drive being dead and its battery being dead, but back then it was my favorite machine to use because, its NVIDIA GPU allowed me to play Minecraft on it pretty well for the time. After having this for a long time, I got a Toshiba Satellite from the e-waste, and it was running Windows Vista. The only reason I kind of used this was because it was better at playing YouTube back than the Sony Vaio, so I kind of just used it as a YouTube machine. I remember I upgraded it to Windows 7 one day, but someday the battery died and I just let go of it. I think I sold it, but I'm not sure. Also around that time, I got this HP Compact. I think originally it came with Windows XP and I tried to upgrade it to Windows 8, and back then I didn't know how to install drivers, which made it run like absolute horrible shit fuck. Which made me not use it for a long time, but as you can see in the image, I eventually downgraded it to Windows 7 and actually used it quite a lot, because it had a good battery and it could play some games pretty decently. I remember this next laptop was the one that I actually kind of saved up for because, I wanted a cool laptop and this one was pretty decent and it could play Minecraft as well. Now the reason that I actually got rid of it was a battery failure, because I had this thing in Spain and I remember we bought like this cheap aftermarket piece of shit adapter, because I lost my fucking charger somewhere. And this stupid piss adapter killed the battery and made it randomly reboot, even with the original adapter that I found when I was back home. As you can see here, this is the actual only image I have of it because I didn't have it for too long because it fucking died. But yes, you can see I have themed it with a Windows XP theme, because XP is the last good operating system that microchip made in my opinion. And also here we can see a picture of its power button. I still remember how that power button fell on this thing. It was like such a satisfying click, I guess. After getting good grades in school for a year, I got this laptop here, which is a median racer. And I would say it's the biggest buying mistake in like my history. Expect some other things, but I had the choice between an Acer Nitro 5, which had lower specs and all, and I was like, what could go wrong, so I bought the Razor, because it has a mechanical keyboard, a better graphics card, better CPU and supposedly a bigger battery and all, and it had a metal casing. That was a fucking mistake. A real big fucking big ass mistake. This thing probably spent more time being repaired than actually working, because when it was still under warranty the first thing to die was the battery. Yeah, after that I had to replace the motherboard because it just completely stopped working. After that was replaced, the keyboard someday just stopped working, so I got that repaired as well. The battery died a few more times and so did the keyboard, and then it was out of warranty and the keyboard died again on me, and I kind of just used it with an external keyboard because it was still the most high-end PC I had at that time. Overall, this thing is absolute trash. Don't buy it, otherwise you may get a brain tumor from the anger it gives you. Now it also had random shutoffs and overheating on Windows, which was the main reason I actually switched to Linux, because this thing was like such an awful experience. Like if you unplugged the laptop it would underclock itself to 0.7 GHz, which made the cursor lag and you basically couldn't fucking use it. I mean, that was fucking unusably bad. Of course, it's Windows, so what I did was like well, this issue seems to be a damn Windows issue. Maybe I should try Linux. Ubuntu 19 was just freshly released, so why not give that a try, because it was the first release that had native support for my Intel GPU. Now, I have used this thing hooked up to monitor for a long time, and it did pretty well mostly. It still overheated a lot while playing games and it was awful, but yeah, it worked for the time. I then someday got a newer laptop from Lenovo and just used this old one as a mining rig, which someday just completely killed the motherboard again. Who could have fucking guessed that? I still have the motherboard laying around somewhere, and I regret breaking it a bit. Anyways, moving on, we have this Lenovo Ideapad L340. I think I got this one as well because I had good grades and it was a very decent machine. It's a good laptop and it has a really good keyboard, not gonna lie. The only issue is the battery, because I bought this laptop for school, thinking, yeah, how bad could the battery be? Well, it's bad and lasts around 1 to 2 hours at best. Even though Windows had no major issues running on it, I kept on using Linux, mainly because Windows 10 fucking sucks, in my opinion at least. Maybe that's because I got used to Linux. This was also the machine with which I switched to Arch Linux, which was pretty cool, I guess. Now, as I said, it was not suitable as a machine for school usage, so what I did is I used this Lenovo Thinkpad S540 that I found in the trash for school, and it was a pretty broken up machine. It was like water damaged, and I mean, it was out of warranty. I mean, Lenovo actually did send me a new part for this thing for free, even though it was 4 years out of warranty, which was pretty cool of Lenovo. But the speakers were still dead and the casing had a gap in it because it was bent. And one day the graphics card started to malfunction if you used it for too long, so I was like, okay, it's my birthday soon, and I switched to a Lenovo Thinkpad X220. You can see how we go from extreme gaming and machines to like low-end machines again. Well, yeah, that's because I started using a desktop again, and my laptop just has to do laptop things now. School stuff, you could say. And I can just say this Thinkpad is a lovely machine. See you in my next video where we talk about my desktops.